Hey g'day boys and girls, shills and blokes, my name is Jacob and today I'm once again sharing my thoughts on Monster Hunter Wilds. Now we got a new trailer as well as our first extended look at the gameplay. Like always, I do these videos as blind to any outside opinions as possible, and I did a bloody good job with that this time since all I've really seen was from the Monster Hunter YouTube channel, Twitter, and the official website. So without any further ado, let me get into the new trailer from Gamescom's opening night live, called the third trailer, even though it's actually our fourth trailer, but Capcom doesn't count the revealed trailer in those numbers, so anyway. This trailer opened up with a look at a new locale, which had been something I predicted we'd get in the last trailer from Summer Games Fest, since all we'd been seeing up to that point was a desert. But no, we got more of that desert, and now finally here we swap it up for a rainforest. I actually don't mind how Capcom has been slowly drizzling out information since World and Rise massively overshared and just basically spoiled everything we'd find in the games. So I'm hoping Capcom has learnt their lesson with those, but with Wild still so far out to release, we'll just have to wait and see for ourselves. Anyway, this new map, the Scarlet Forest, which I'm pretty sure is also the name of an Etrian Odyssey dungeon, so that wins the hunting ground some bonus cool points. The contrast between the green trees and the red water is a little eerie, but I kind of like that. I'm wondering if that red water will go away when the environment changes during one of Wild's big ecological shifts. We know with the Windward Plains, which, you know, I'm going on a side tangent here now that I have Etrian Odyssey on my mind. I remember that the Windward Plains is also a dungeon-like locale in the Etrian Odyssey series. Could I potentially predict the rest of Wild's locale names based on my love of this niche series? Like, maybe I'm onto something here. I don't know, but I digress. Anyway, we know that the Windward Plains has 3 environmental changes called the Fallow, Inclemency, and the Plenty, which all sound extremely cool to say. And back to my original point, I don't know if the water shifts from red to something more normal during a different phase, since so far it's all red, and I doubt the difference between the light rain and the clear skies we see in the trailer snippets are fancy enough to be a completely different phase shift. I'm very eager to see more of this place, like how big it is, since the Windward Plains looks massive, and what other monsters roam about the Scarlet Forest. I suspect I'll have my answers at this year's TGS. Now, on the topic of monsters, we did see one new monster, a new Temosiraean called Lullabarina, which is a name that I find very amusing since my mind wanders off to Final Fantasy XIV with the Lullafels and that one creepy doll boss called Barina. Yeah, anyway. This new monster I actually got really excited over because Lullabarina has the Nasilla skeleton and it even has several of Nasilla's moves. Like, I immediately recognized one of them in the trailer, which got me all giddy thinking that maybe Nasilla's back.
Hey,
That's the spider.
that is an Nasilla model right there. That is an Nasilla model.
Since I love our series' first spider monster, which is ironic given that in real life I have arachnophobia, and also in real life I live in Australia, so yeah, I have to deal with those creepy crawly cunts a lot. Having let my thoughts sit a couple days though, I have unfortunately come to the conclusion that my old pal Nasilla is not going to make the cut for Wilds. Nasilla usually crawls around the foresty cave areas like the Sunken Hollow and the Primal Forest, which, given Lullabarina has the Scarlet Forest, a very similar terrain to the Primal Forest, marked as its main turf, I doubt the two spiders will be sharing the spotlight together. This is a tad disappointing if true, since we had the Rekna Kadaki sidelining poor Nursey and Rise. Like, when will the OG Spooder get some love? Well, outside the official movie and that one fan film, that is, anyway. I look forward to the day Nasilla will make its return to the games, potentially even in Wild's expansion where we start seeing subspecies, since the Shrouded Nasilla is known to prowl the desert, and unless Lullabarina steals Nasilla's act again, then the Windward Plains are free reign for Nursey to haunt. And hell, you know, while I'm adding back 4 ultimate subspecies, add back the Tiger Stripe Zemturus. Like, I want to see that big boy roll down those sand dunes and crush a hunter trying to flee on their sacred. Theory crafting aside, we also got an extended look at the Raidao, and I was very surprised by how big it was. Like, I honestly wasn't expecting it to be that huge, it's cool. And I love the whole railgun aesthetic of this monster where it just locks its head in and shoots a massive beam at nearby targets. Like, it looks so bloody incredible. I'm also a fan of that one attack where it gracefully drags its wing across the ground. I all around just love this monster. I'm keen for a digital demo to drop and let me throw hands with the big old Dow, since I doubt we'll be getting any game shows featuring wilds here down under. It's also in this trailer we see a new follower called Olivia, who at first I thought was a Hammer bro, and I only later found out is actually a Hammer sis. So of course I'm obligated to like her, as she's a Hammer main just like me. I'll sit her right beside God Eater's Nana as a certified hammer-wielding waifu. But unlike with Nana though, Olivia is actually very well dressed, and I actually love her armor design. It's just the right amount of armored plating atop of some middle-age inspired clothes that a medieval fantasy nerd like me just loves. I can definitely see myself using this armor as a layered set, but that said, I wonder if this is the female version we're seeing on Olivia or the male, since we know that gender-locked armor restrictions are gone. And did I already mention she has a hammer? Oh yeah, she's got a hammer. Olivia is going to be a must-have accompanying me on quests in Wilds. At least for the solo quests. Yeah, so it was seemingly confirmed on Monster Hunter's official Twitter that followers can only join you in single-player quests, which is a huge bummer. I've mentioned in a past video that I was hoping Wilds followers can accompany you and your real mates on quests together if there's any empty slots, but that's not looking like the case in Wilds, with a tweet reading, SOS multiplayer flare settings can be customized to be either player only or support hunter only. End quote. I know this is just for the flares and doesn't say anything about starting quests with or without NPCs and people, so I'll have to wait for more information before making my final judgment, but like, Frontier had NPCs first, and they let us bring those along with real people, so why can't Sunbreak and Wilds do that 10 years after Frontier laid the foundation? The final thing I want to talk about, at least for the third trailer, is my impression of the story so far, and the feeling of adventure I'm getting seeing the trailers. Monster Hunter has never been a series renowned for its story. Even with how good 4 Ultimate Story was, the following games being Generations, World and Rise had flopped in that department, further cementing this as a fact. And as someone who loves story-driven JRPGs, I don't really care if Monster Hunter has a good story because the reason we're all here is to hunt giant monsters. But that said, if the games can pull off a good story throughout the early hunter ranks right to the final boss hunt, then I am a happy hunter. There's been a few cutscenes sprinkled throughout the trailers so far, and something I'm seeing in all of them is we have a core party of characters traveling with us throughout the Forbidden Lands. In the first trailer, we saw the introduction of Gemma, Alma, and Nata on the sand ship. And now in the third trailer, we see 2 more new faces with Olivia and an unnamed character who mentions the Lullabriana Florette. It appears these 2 will also be with us as early as the Windward Plains, since they both appear later in the trailers inside cutscenes for that area. So we have these 5 characters plus our 2 Palicos in the main cast so far, and it's starting to look like a pretty solid party lineup for the campaign. I'm sure there's going to be other characters added to this growing roster too, like maybe that insect glaive hunter from the second trailer, but it's been a few months already, and I don't really know his name if it's even been announced, so who's to say? If Wilds can give the time needed to develop these characters, set motivations and high stakes while still providing more quiet moments of interaction between the party, beyond the flat cardboard story we had in the 5th generation, then I think we got a winner here. 4 Ultimate had a similar setup with the cast of the caravan and the journey they went on, and with both games featuring a key party member in Little Miss Forge, I'm starting to worry I might be expecting way too much for Wilds, but fuck man, I can't help but get excited because this is looking really damn good. So that's like all I wanted to share about the new trailer, which means it's time to move along now to the massive amount of gameplay we got over Capcom's 3 days at Gamescom. First off, I'd like to point out there is no bloody way I can cover everything that was shown here, as it's just far too much information for me to take in all at once. I have written down a few bullet points I'm about to ramble on about in a moment, but even with these, I'm sure I'll be speculating on something that's already been explained and I just missed it, so please bear with me. The first point I've already kind of mentioned a little, and it's about the removal of gender-locked armor, which was the first big piece of information from the Day 1 livestream. I love this change as it means I won't have to struggle anymore finding pants for my alt character Jali, who is always a female hunter I try to dress as a tomboy. Not that I'm likely to even play an alt character in Wilds with this game being crossplay, meaning I don't have to play on multiple systems anymore, and I don't have the free time to dedicate myself to games every day, so I won't really play an alt character for fun, but you know, it's a welcome change to have nonetheless. And so moving on to the real gameplay outside the tent menus, I was blown away by almost everything shown. Like, we have a truly living world right here. The way the monsters walk around and interact with the environment, each other and the hunters, it is just incredible. I love how big and open the maps are too. From what I gathered looking through the official website, I found text that reads, "Following the river found in the Windward Plains will lead you to the verdant Scarlet Forest." So I get the impression that these hunting grounds are going to be more like Nier Automata's map or other games like it, with big open zones connected through long corridors for a seamless semi-open world kind of exploration. I think that's all fine though, because I'm someone who would have been happy even if we never left the segmented area maps of the first few generations. Looking at the Windward Plains map, we see 3 massive distinctive zones with little interconnected areas between them, which I think is a cave-like system. Whatever it is, I bloody love the map design. Just looking out over the horizon and seeing the monsters running around, I can say we're getting pretty close now to the old cinematic levels of Monster Hunter that I've been dreaming about playing for over a decade. And it might not just be the monsters we see interacting with the hunting grounds either, since in the trailer there's villagers foraging around, but that could all just be a cutscene. However, I'm praying that it's not, because it just adds an extra level of detail to the environment that I appreciate. This is the best Monster Hunter's ever been in terms of expressing how alive and beautiful this world truly is. I fucking love it. 2025 cannot come fast enough because I am just desperate to get my hands on this game. I also saw we can start quests mid-exploration now like we could in Wild Hearts, and I think the cooking is somewhat similar to Wild Hearts as well, with us the hunters getting to choose each ingredient in our meals, and we also have to find and collect these ingredients from around the map. I think that's a clever way of adding back some missing hunt preparation here in Wilds, and it shouldn't be too big a hassle either collecting them with the new slinger hookshot we can use to grab nearby items on the go. And on the topic of that slinger, something that really grinds my gears and might even piss a few people off just by me simply saying it, but please hear me out. I fucking hate how slinger pods are back. I have been fuming about this since it was revealed. To understand why, these pods were repurposed in World from our old throwable bomb system, so stuff like flash bombs, dung bombs, etc. became flash pods and dung pods and so on. Obviously the devs did this to try and highlight how cool the slinger was, but this only added an extra level of tediousness to using any of these items. Having to not only find the item in your inventory, but now also fuck around with equipping it to your arm before being allowed to use it, it sucks. And then afterwards you need to select it again to unequip it if you wanted to use anything else. This was a massive pain in the fucking ass. Yeah, you could call it a skill issue, but this is something that should have never been an issue in the first fucking place. And to prove it, Monster Hunter Rise brought back the throwable bombs in their original forms, but kept the aiming system from World, letting us quickly use one with precision accuracy, and then get right back to whacking the monsters. I think the return of Slinger Pods is an outright regression of progress in a series constantly trying to move forward. I myself have been called out for this in the past with a video I made talking about 7 features I would like to see brought back in Monster Hunter Wilds, where in the video I did a pretty poor job of explaining how I'd actually like to see these features return. So to clear the air about that video, what I wanted to see was not these old features brought back in their original forms, i.e. Slinger Pods, but rather updated to fit more in line with new Monster Hunter while still keeping the parts that made them cool, i.e. Rise's throwable bomb system combined with World's slinger aiming mechanics. It might be too late to make any real changes to this in Wilds, not that Capcom is likely to even see this or even care if they did, but I think it would have been a far smarter decision to have the pods fire out of your slinger without loading if the pods were highlighted on the item bar, similar to how ballista ammo worked in the older games. Or like, just keep them fucking separate in the first place. Mantles are also returning, which I wasn't a huge fan of in World, but I don't have as much to rant about over these, so don't worry. I just don't like how they incentivize breaking away from the fight for a few seconds to sheath your weapon and either equip or unequip them. I hate mechanics like these that break up the natural dance between yourself and the monsters. It's why I praise gimmicks like Hunter Arts and Silkbinds. Even if I don't really want them as core mechanics in the series, they at least feel natural to use in battle. For those reasons, I mostly rend the booster items in World since, like a trap, I can use it once and forget about it for a while, so I'm hoping they are back in Wilds along with the mantles. And because I'm going on a hate train, the last thing I'll bitch about is I don't like the HP and stamina bar on the HUD in Wilds. I really do not like how wavy it is, so I'm hoping there's an option to make it just a simple, plain bar like we had in the past games. Now that's all out of my system, I can move on to something I find very exciting, and it's the underwater exploration that was shown off. In the video I mentioned earlier about features returning in Wilds I wanted to see, one of those was underwater exploration and combat, and while there's no underwater combat here in Wilds, we do have these underwater sections to swim around in and collect items. I think this is quite literally Capcom testing the waters here in Wilds, since controls were the biggest issue people had in the 3rd generation, so perhaps the devs are using these segments in Wilds to help refine the return of underwater combat in a future game. I'll go on record here now saying that I don't think we'll get underwater combat in the expansion to Wild, since unless they rework the base game maps with bigger underwater areas, then we're likely to only have 1 or 2 new maps that accommodate for underwater combat, and personally I wouldn't like that as much as having a whole core Monster Hunter game built around it again like we did with Tri. Like I always say on this topic, I love the underwater stuff in Monster Hunter 3. I want to see it return, and when it does, I am 100% sure the Monhun team will nail it this time. The final thing I want to talk about today in terms of Wilds and Gamescom is this shot here from the equipment menu. Specifically the armor name. Hope. Hope Armor. Now where else have I seen Hope Armor? Oh wait, I know, Monster Hunter Frontier. Yeah, so these games both use the same beginner armor set names, which adds to the growing list of strange similarities Wilds has with Monster Hunter Frontier. I know I'm beginning to sound like some conspiracy theorist here in these videos, but like, I'm not actually crazy, right? It is worth pointing out Frontier has never released in English, so this is a fan translation I'm playing, and thus not what Capcom might have officially called the armor set, so the only way to confirm if it is a real reference or not is for new footage to come out at this year's TGS, where we're likely to see some gameplay of the Japanese version, and thus can compare the Japanese armor names. Speaking of TGS, or Tokyo Game Show for people not familiar with the abbreviation, I think TGS is where we'll get our first look at returning monsters like the Kongolola that was hinted at in the Dual Blades overview trailer. Reason for this is Monster Hunter has always been huge in Japan, whereas it was a niche series here in the West until World, so the reveal of old gen monsters will be a bigger spectacle for the Tokyo audience. Like, how many of you watching know what a Cephalodrome, Gravios, Quadrupedco, or even a Shengaron is? If you do, then props, I applaud you. But if you ask your average Western Monster Hunter fan the same question, they'd likely haven't a clue. A quick side note, the size of Wild's maps would make the return of something like Shengaron both possible and an insanely fun hunt. But yeah, so I predict TGS we will get a new trailer and demo packed with returning monsters in the Scarlet Forest, which will show off the map in larger detail with monsters like Lullabarina, Kongolola, and Rathian roaming about it. With Wild's pack monster system, imagine how cool a Kongolola fight with its little Kongas backing it up, or a Rathian when she fights alongside the Rathalos is going to be. I also hope that monster team attacks return like what the Teostra and Lunostra had in base World. We just have to wait until the end of September to see for ourselves what we get. So moving into the outro, I wanted to update what's going on with my channel's content over the next couple months. First thing is, I still plan to make a couple more weapon comparison videos. I have already finished a comparison video for the Switch Axe, I just haven't uploaded yet since I had other stuff I needed to upload first. I still want to try making a comparison video for every weapon, but it feels a little weird doing this now after the demo dropped since there's moves in Wilds we didn't see in any of the overview trailers. Like, for example, for Hammer in the third trailer, we see Olivia do a Clutch Claw-esque attack that wasn't shown in the Hammer overview. So I plan to update at least the Hammer comparison, if not more, when I get my hands on the demo, so please look forward to that, but I just feel the demo has completely outdated my current comparisons and any more that I do make. But because people seem to like these videos, or at least the first few as they quickly became some of my most watched videos, I'll make a couple more after I upload the Switch Axe comparison like bow or dual blades to see the reaction, and if it's not good, I'll just probably move on to something else. I am open to all of your suggestions on that though, since while I don't mind making these comparisons, they do eat into the time I have to work on other videos, like the ranking the Switch Axe in every Monster Hunter game video I had to completely pause any progress on for all this new Wilds news stuff. At the end of the day though, I'll leave that for you to decide, so please leave your feedback on what I should be doing about these comparisons in the comments. Another little series I'd like to work on after I finish my Switch Axe ranking video is a top 5 monsters I'd like to see return in Wilds, and a top 5 frontier monsters I want to see return in Wilds. Then after all those, and whatever I make for TGS, I'll start working on a ranking the Sword and Shield in every Monster Hunter game video, but with how long these ranking videos take me, hopefully that one will be finished by the end of the year. Anyway, if you're still watching and listening, then a massive thank you. Your support goes a long way with helping my channel grow, so please consider liking the video if you liked it, or dislike it if you didn't. I'm always open to dialogue in the comments, so share what you thought of this big Gamescom news dump, or thoughts on anything I said or even forgot to say in the video. And subscribe for more content like this, because I'll keep sharing my thoughts with every trailer we get. Alright, that's all. Have a good one, people. Cheers.